You know, it's funny how historians treat ancient history. Because we've got a lot of ancient historians writing things that we take today as matter of fact, like, this event happened, okay. But then when they start talking about some other things that they believed were true, historians will just discount it. Like, Marco Polo's writing about dragons, Alexander the Great's talking about his giant lizard that frightened his army. And there's all sorts of other accounts in history as matter of fact accounts of great lizard like beasts, and yet they're routinely discredited as not being true.
It is a misnomer that some of these dragon legends, or all the dragon legends, are just a product of opium-inspired pagan religions. I mean, that is not the case at all. What you have is actual historians. You have Herodotus, you have Flavius Josephus, you have Marco Polo that talk about dragons. Herodotus actually heard an account of flying reptiles, and he went and checked it out himself. And so, I mean, he showed the mettle of a true historian. 400 years later or so, you have Flavius Josephus, an incredible Jewish historian, also talking about seemingly the same creature. You have this flying reptile. You have Marco Polo that after his journey to China is describing a huge dragon. He calls it a dragon with this tail that is really dragging through the sand, leaving these marks. And we come to the point where we have to ask ourselves, are all these people just making this up? They're describing creatures that were not supposed to be alive then. According to evolutionary theory, that creatures like this were supposed to be separated by mankind for 65 to 70 million years. Yet, here we have respectable people writing in their history books, this is what I've seen, this is what I've witnessed. And they sound just like dinosaurs.
The Bible does use the term dragons over and over again. It talks about ocean dragons, it talks about flying dragons, it talks about land dragons. And that seems to fit with these great reptilian beasts that include the dinosaurs. And it makes sense. If those things were so dominant on the planet before the flood, and certainly right after the flood, they would have made it into the history of the culture.
The reason why you don't find the word dinosaur in the Bible is the same reason why you don't find words like computer or locomotive, because all of those words were invented in the English language well after the Bible was translated into English.
The word dinosaur wasn't invented until 1841 by Sir Richard Owen, who was head of the British Museum. Before that, words such as dragon were used in the Bible.
The King James Bible was first translated into English in 1611, so the word dinosaur is a modern word.
There is a distinct philosophy that is able to be identified when you look at the King James Version of the Bible that was first printed in 1611 to the more modern translations in the English language like the ESV. In 1611, they used the word dragon 35 times. In the Old Testament alone, they used the plural word dragon 16 times. But if you look at the ESV today, they use the word dragons in the plural form 0. And what is very clear to see is that whenever dragon is used to refer to a real living, breathing creature that walks upon land, the ESV has decided that is not a word that can be used. Most of the time they replace it with jackal, which is like a little hairy dog. Now that is a big discrepancy between a small, hairy, fox-like creature and a big, gigantic reptile-like creature. And what you see is that the evolutionary mindset has seeped into so many things that we have even our most conservative Bible theologians look at dragons. They do not make the connection between dragon and dinosaur, and they have the idea that, wow, dragons aren't real, and so we have to protect the inerrancy of the Bible.
I think that a dinosaur is described in detail more than most other animals in the Bible. I really do. For instance, when you go to Job 40, there we have an account of God speaking with a man called Job, and this was after the flood. And he was saying to Job, look at this animal called Behemoth. Everything about it is big. His legs are big. His bones are strong like brass and iron. He's an enormous creature, chief of the ways of God. Some Hebrew experts say that means it was the largest land animal God made. And the largest land animal we know of today from the fossil record are some of your dinosaurs, like your sauropods, like a Seismosaurus or something. And then it has a tail like a cedar. Well, you think of the cedars of Lebanon. I mean, a tail like a cedar, that'd be an enormous tail. Do you know many Bible commentaries, for instance, the NIV Study Bible in the notes actually says this was a hippopotamus or an elephant. But a hippopotamus tail is like a little flap of skin. And, an elephant's tail, it's like a piece of rope hanging in the wind.